Hi, this is Kelly Tolman and welcome to Literature Discussions. In this recording, I am going to talk about some of the ideas that the author explores in Chapter 11 of Lord of the Flies. Chapter 11 is the great crisis of the story where the two tribes meet in their major conflict. This is the confrontation between civilization and savagery. The chapter begins with a discussion between Ralph, Piggy, and Sam and Eric to figure out what they are going to do next. In this episode, it becomes clear that enough time has passed on the island that Ralph is beginning to forget or to give up hope. He is still obsessed with the fire, but there are hints that his obsession has lost some of its purpose. One of the key areas of debate among the boys is what to do about their appearance. Ralph and Piggy want to do something about their hair, but they have no materials to use. And Ralph points out that he doesn't want to look like a girl. Sam and Eric express their concern that Jack's tribe will all have painted faces and that perhaps they should paint their faces as well. Ralph rejects this idea. The author is again exploring how our appearances both are cause and effect for our identities. Ralph adamantly refuses to become a savage, and he realizes that by putting on the costume of a savage, he will be subtly changing his identity. Along the way, Piggy is unable to lead himself and must be guided by Ralph and Sam and Eric. Many critics talk a lot about the significance of Piggy as a symbol for science and academic learning. If this is the case, then what might the author be suggesting when Piggy has to be led by Ralph? If Ralph is the symbol in this story about democracy and civilization, what is the author suggesting? Of course, you can disagree with these suggestions, but it is interesting to contemplate the role that science plays in society. In what ways does science drive the development of society, and in what ways do societal concerns drive the development of science? One quick example of this is with weapons technology. From a purely theoretical standpoint, weapons development is absolutely absurd. Why do we need better weapons in order to kill humans or to defend ourselves from ourselves? On the other hand, from a very practical standpoint, humans are the single most dangerous threat to humans, so it makes sense to devote significant resources into scientific research in this area. I think the author is subtly exploring these ideas here. The confrontation between Ralph and Jack does not go well, but there is no surprise in that. One subtlety that might be overlooked is when Ralph says to Jack, "You're a beast and a swine and a bloody, bloody thief." The use of the words beast and swine in this case is significant given the nature of the Lord of the Flies and all of the attention that the author has given to beasts throughout the story. So, what makes Jack a beast? What are the qualities that Jack possesses that make him into a beast? I don't intend to give a comprehensive list, but I think it is an important question because it strikes at the very basics of how we define ourselves. For example, Jack uses fear, cruelty, and intimidation. These are beastly qualities. Why does he use them? Is it for pleasure? Is it out of fear? Is he afraid of something? Remember that he has ordered his tribe to make offerings to the beast. Obviously, I need to talk for a minute about Piggy's death. The attack is sudden and unexpected. It doesn't come from Jack, but rather from Roger. This chapter really marks Roger's high point, but more on that in a moment. Why does Piggy die? I mean, why does the author kill him off? Remember that this is a thought experiment exploring human nature and the nature of societies. What is significant about the fact that Jack's tribe has killed off Piggy, but they still hold on to Piggy's glasses? Many literary critics would suggest that this indicates that the author thought that one of the key differences between civilization and savages is that a civilized society protects science and reason, whereas a savage society does not. I think that is a bit simplistic, but it isn't a bad starting point for thought. Societies are much more complex than that, but can you see these interactions playing out in our world? Can you see instances of people advancing or criticizing science? Why do you think that different groups have the opinions that they do? Who in your culture is seeking to control technology, and why? Does it change depending on the type of technology? I think that Roger deserves a moment of our attention here because he literally does the most damage in this chapter. When Jack seems unable to bring the crisis to a head and is on the point of being unable to deal with Ralph, Roger sends down the stone that kills Piggy and leaves Ralph alone against the tribe. In addition, it is Roger who deals with Sam and Eric at the end of the chapter. So one question that I have is, how important is Roger to Jack's success? Could Jack have pulled it off without Roger? Would Roger have given in to his cruel impulses without Jack? Obviously, we don't get any answers to these questions in the story, but they're interesting questions because one thing that we have to keep in mind is that these characters are in a unique set of circumstances. These are otherwise normal boys caught up in a strange situation. This brings me to my final point for the day, and that is how human behavior is very dependent on the context we find ourselves in. William Golding anticipated the work of later scientists like Stanley Milgram and Philip Zimbardo, who would show just how far human behavior can change based on the context we find ourselves in. Stanley Milgram showed that otherwise normal people can be guided into behavior that would otherwise be considered cruel and even deadly under the right circumstances. And Philip Zimbardo showed that normal young men will revert to beastly behavior given the right situation. In many ways, the idea that there is a beast inside all of us is a reflection of these psychological theories that have been borne out through experimentation. Again, thank you for tuning in to Literature Discussions with Kelly Tolman, and be sure to check out all of my video and audio content at literaturediscussions.com. Thanks and good reading.